Deputy Attorney General, or Assistant Attorney General, or number two, is whatever his title is. He's the guy below Jeff Sessions, Rod Rosenstein, just testified in the last hour before Congress that he has seen no good cause to fire Robert Mueller, the guy, the independent counsel, the special prosecutor, whatever phrase you want to use, the guy who is looking into the whole issue of whether Trump was the Trump campaign was in some way corruptly colluding with Russia or anybody else for that matter to swing the election in the United States, and what and who was talking to whom when, and all that kind of stuff. And he was asked, because a friend of the president says, this guy who owns Newsmax, one of the big right-wing news sites, he was on TV yesterday saying, well, the president's thinking of firing Mueller. Well, it turns out the president doesn't have the authority to fire Mueller. It's Rod Rosenstein. And Rod Rosenstein says, no, I would have to fire him for good cause. In the statute, there's actually a law that has to do with this that says that these, once these guys are put into place, they can only be fired for, dereliction of duty or committing a crime or good cause. In other words, something that can be justified. And so then he was asked, well, if the president says fire him to you, is that good cause? And he essentially answered no. The president would have to give me a good reason. He's asserting, and he also was asked, does Mueller have absolute independence from the Justice Department, or are you pulling his strings or constraining him in any way? And his answer was, I'm confident that I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm confident that that Mr. Mueller has complete independence. So this is probably not what you would consider good news in Trump world. But then, I keep saying he should be wanting an investigation. If he's insisting there's nothing there, I would think that the Trump campaign, I would think that the Russians, I would think everybody would be saying, let's get it all out in the open. Let's have an investigation. Let's find out what's going on. So, the idea that Trump is thinking of firing this guy, the statement, the theology, the ideology here, the notion is that just the discussion of this is putting a cloud over the presidency and all this kind of thing. Well, perhaps, but it's a cloud that's not going to go away until somebody says definitively, here's what happened. So, let's clean this thing up. Meanwhile, Dennis Rodman has arrived in North Korea. This actually may turn out to be a really good thing. In my opinion. Dennis Rodman is probably the only human being on earth who is personal friends with Donald Trump and personal friends with Kim Jong-un. Or is it Kim Jong-il? Which one? Un is Il was his father, right? Okay. I mix up my Kim Jongs. And so Rodman, and in fact, this UVA student, Otto Warmbier, who was arrested in North Korea about 1.5 years ago for taking a propaganda poster off the wall in the dormitory he was staying in. He was an exchange student in North Korea. He was sentenced to 15 years hard labor for stealing a poster. And apparently 1 year ago, he got food poisoning during his trial, and they gave him a sleeping pill, and he went to sleep and never woke up. And so he has been in a coma for 1 year. This has got to be just devastating to his family. And the good news is he's being shipped home right now as we speak. He's on a medevac plane out of North Korea. The bad news is he's still in the coma. So that's going on. And we'll see. Whether Rodman can diffuse the high tension that is around because Trump has been saber rattling North Korea the same way that George W. Bush was when he was back when he gave that famous speech that David Frum wrote about the axis of evil being Iran, Iraq, and North Korea. 3 countries that at that point in time had no contact with each other whatsoever for all practical purposes. In fact, Iran and Iraq were enemies. They'd fought an 8-year war and killed 2 million people, 1 million people on each side. We supported both sides, by the way, during that war, covertly. But we supported them. But this situation with North Korea is starting to get spooky. I mean, the Japanese are starting to have nuclear alerts, drills where they practice, running for the bomb shelters in case North Korea nukes them. People in Hawaii are starting to get nervous. People on the west coast of the U.S. So, there's a lot going on here, and that's worth keeping track of. But at the same time that all of this stuff is going on, there's also a lot going on kind of in the background that we all need to be knowing about and talking about. So just a few things in the news of the day. The Secret Service, by the way, says we were the ones who put in the recording system for Nixon. We're the ones who took it out after Nixon left and Jerry Ford was president. And there has been no recording system since then. So if Donald Trump recorded his, the Secret Service is not saying this, but this is the obvious and logical inference from what they've said, that they have no recording system in the White House and no knowledge of any recordings being made. If that's the case, the only person who could have recorded James Comey when he was meeting with Donald Trump would be Donald Trump himself. And it turns out that Trump has threatened other people in the past by saying, I have recordings of our conversations, when in fact he didn't. And he admitted in sworn depositions that he had just lied about it. So we'll see where this one goes, right? Yesterday, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco backed up the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Ninth Circuit is famously liberal. The Fourth Circuit is famously conservative. They both ruled against Trump's Muslim ban, both of them. This will now go to the Supreme Court. We'll see where this goes. But in the ruling, the court cited Trump's tweets, and they cited Sean Spicer's statement from the podium that a tweet by the president is considered an official statement by the president of the United States. Very interesting. This is kind of a variation on hoisted on his own petard, right? Victoria Jones, in her newsletter today, notes, as I watched the courtiers flatter President Trump at the cabinet meeting, I became more and more uncomfortable for them. Each member of the cabinet felt obliged to be more fawning, more effusive than the one who spoke before. They knew they were being scored on loyalty. So what if what they said about the state of the country was untrue? It only mattered that they kept their heads. This is Victoria Jones, and it's brilliant. Yesterday, I played this clip of Donald Trump talking about, this was back in 1992 with Charlie Rose, talking about how he loves getting revenge on people who aren't loyal to him. And I think it's worth playing again, just so we realize, all those people in that room yesterday, this is what they were dealing with. Here's Donald Trump. Literally 1 minute? No, just a few seconds. Okay, we got to pull up the video here to get it going. You got it, Chris? There we go. This is Charlie Rose. There's Charlie Rose laughing like Billy Bush did, right? Wow. Wow. This is like a mob boss. And the people in that room yesterday in the cabinet, this has got to be tough being a member of Donald Trump's cabinet. I mean, it's got to be tough. It's like, okay, we're dealing with, Don the Don, right? He's like, he thinks he's a mafia Don. And he's insecure. It's bizarre. We'll be back.